ワンオンワンテック始まります。今日のテーマはクロードはなぜ爆速で進化できるのかです。アンソロピックがミュトス級の AI モデルをついに一般公開しました。その名もクロード Fable 5です。つい先日クロードオーパス 4.8 というのが発表されたばかりなんですけども、もう次なるモデルが飛び出しました。そして同時にプレビュー版だったミトス自身もクロードミトス5として発表されています。フェイブル5はミトスと同じ基盤モデルですけれども、サイバーセキュリティなどの能力をガードレールで抑えたものなんですよね。で、一方のミトスは引き続き世界の約200の組織に限定公開されています。クロードが自らコーディングしてあらゆるものを開発してしまうという流れはもう止まりそうにありません。クロードは今後どうなるのか、そしてアンソロピックはなぜモデルやプロダクトをこれだけ爆速で開発できるのか。今日はクロスディグとして初めてアンソロピックの中の人に直撃します。クロードコードとコーワークのプロダクト開発責任者のキャット・ユーさんです。トピックは3つです。フェイブル5とミトス5で何が変わるか。2つ目がアンソロピックの爆速開発の裏側。そして最後が AI ネイティブ企業の働き方です。それではぜひ最後までご覧ください。Okay, we have Kat Wu, product lead for Claude Cowork and Claude Code. Thank you for your time today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, Anthropic just launched Claude Fable 5 and Mythos 5. So, I want to step back a little bit and ask you about a broader picture of Claude. So, we have new models, and Fable 5 is Mythos class model. Made safe for general use, while Mythos 5 is available for through trusted access. So from your perspective, what is the biggest change in Claude itself with its new generation of models?
Yeah, so Fable 5 is the most strong agentic coding model that we've ever released, and it's able to handle complex tasks that previous models would struggle with. So if you have long-running work, if you need to work in very complex code bases and you need a model that can make very careful changes over a long time horizon, Fable 5 is the best model for that task. And in general, we're constantly figuring out ways that we can make our models more autonomous and more long-running. And so this is like the direction that we'll continue pushing for future model families.
Did you also try Mythos 5?
Yes.
Internally?
Yes, we do use the models internally. We find that they're a great driver in our production code bases, and also for knowledge work. So Fable 5 is a leap ahead across all of the knowledge work evals that we've been working on, as well as things like vision. So being able to interpret really small figures in complex graphs, or being able to navigate complex interfaces.
So I saw Boris Cherny, the inventor of Claude Code, and your colleague, posted on X that the Fable 5 as a step up from being a coding engine to become a thought and design partner in building products. So, did you feel that same shift? And can you tell us what it actually means?
Yeah, so Fable 5 it feels like it really just gets you. So you can give it these higher level assignments. Like in the past, maybe you tell it, hey, I want you to build this feature in exactly this way. And with Fable 5, you can tell it, hey, I have this problem that I want to solve, and I have some ideas to solve it, but what do you think we should do? And it can really step up for that role and help you brainstorm these solutions. And then when you guide it to the right one, it can actually take on a lot of this work with a much higher success rate. So we published some stats about its ability to handle complex tasks, and we see pretty large jumps there. So you can just trust it with larger chunks of work, and that you can also run a lot more tasks at the same time. Because if you have one agent that can run for many hours, then great. That's running on the side, and you can kick off more.
So I guess people used to have to think about what to tell Claude or what to instruct Claude, but now we can just tell them more like a vague ideas or sort of things?
Yeah, you can come to it with bigger problems than you had before. So the way I think about it is if I'm like faced with a complex task, I'll actually brainstorm it with Fable 5 and I trust its guidance more. And it also means that in the past when you felt like, okay, maybe this software engineering task has like these 3 steps. In the past, maybe you had to like write out, okay, do A, then do B, then do C. But with Fable, you can say like, okay, there's this like higher level goal and just like send it off and do that.
So, can you come up with any like examples that the general like average people can even feel the difference about Fable 5 from other existing models, like specific use case or something?
So I think there's like maybe 2 that jump out to me. So one is we build Claude Desktop, and a lot of times I have these ideas for these new interaction patterns that I want to add to the desktop. So for example, one that I was experimenting with is this idea of a self-doing to-do list. So you write out your to-do list and it actually just kicks off a Claude for each one. And in the past, I might have made like a prototype app that wasn't our real app so that I can iterate faster. But actually with Fable 5, I can iterate directly in the production app, make this in the real thing, and then share it out to other users. So that's been very exciting to see. The other category is it's been amazing at helping us level up our marketing and sales materials. So with Fable 5, I can tell it, okay, these are where all the product requirements docs are, and these are the channels you should check out, and this is our launch content. And tell it, okay, go out, make a slide deck, and come back to me and make sure it just has a clear narrative. And Fable 5 is able to synthesize all of this information, put it into a story that it would be compelling for a customer, and then put this deck together that's like following our brand tone and our brand designs.
How does Fable get better at those tasks? Like better at everything?
It's pretty hard. It takes a large research team to do it. I think one way to think about it is the more we can teach, the more we can show the model examples of high quality, long running work, and the more of these examples that the model sees, the better its intuition is for the right way to handle a task. And so over time, there's just a very long range of not only coding tasks, but finance, legal, marketing, sales, bio research. And we accumulate a lot of examples for what an amazing human in these areas does. And then we share it with the model, and it's able to pick this up.
So in terms of product, if Claude Code and Cowork can think and do tasks for hours or even days, as discussed in the keynote, what are we going to be able to do, and how does that expand the window of capabilities?
Yeah, I think the really exciting thing is because the model can take on a lot of the implementation work over longer periods of time, this means that we can instead focus on like the creative parts of the job and figuring out, okay, what is the problem that is worth solving? And it also means that, you know, most people I talk to, they have this like long list of things that they want to get done, but they don't feel like they have time for. And this means that, okay, now it's so much easier to take one of those ideas and to execute on it, because you no longer need to steer the model so frequently. You can give it this like longer horizon idea and send it off. And with Fable, it's actually also quite good at being proactive and following up over time. So instead of you saying, okay, triage this one customer issue, you can tell it, hey, monitor this channel. And every time there's a customer issue, like triage what the root cause was, figure out which engineer worked on this part of the code base, tag them on the issue, and also investigate a PR, like investigate a code change that'll fix the issue and put it up too. And this is like a workflow that we see is commonly adopted with Fable class models.
That sounds like a real human like working.
Yeah, and it's amazing because, now that our team's a lot big, so I used to triage all the tickets, and now that our team's a lot bigger, I don't know what exactly every single engineer worked on, not just now, but over the last year. And so it's been amazing that Fable can jump in, it can read our code, it can say, okay, this is the engineer who touched it last, and this is the context behind the change. And it also helps the engineer because instead of them saying, Claude, go fix it, there's already a PR waiting for them, and usually it's quite high quality.
And you are in a rare position where you get to work with frontier models before the rest of the world sees them. So what does the environment change about how you think or how you build or how you make product?
Yeah, we very much focus our product efforts on the most frontier models. And in fact, we orient the team towards figuring out what is the next interface this frontier model enables us to do that previous models couldn't. And we feel that figuring out the next interface is the most important thing for the team. I think this is true not just for us though, but it's also true for everyone who builds on AI models. The existing interaction patterns are well known, but because the models improve so fast, I think we've been shipping one new model every month. It means that every month your product needs to look a bit different because there's new things that it can do.
Yeah.
And so I think across every team, I would encourage people to figure out what is that next leap forward in experience you want to enable. Build for that future, build for a model that is more autonomous than it is today. And then our models will keep up. And then you'll be able to ship that to your users before others can.
Yeah. You said one model per month, right? The one new model every month.
Historically, yes.
Historically.
Yes.
Why is Anthropic be able to ship them so fast?
I think part of it is that Claude makes us a lot more productive. So we recently shared that with the latest models, we've been able to ship 8x more code per engineer than compared to past years.
Yeah.
So compared to 2021 to 2025, the lifetime of the company. And because of that, because of how much more productive Claude makes us through tools like Claude Code, Claude Cowork, we've just been able to tackle bigger projects than we ever have before. It also means we're also finding that a lot of people are running Claude Code overnight or in automation. So now instead of when you go to sleep, your agents are sleeping, we find that a lot of people kick off one last job before they go to bed.
Right.
They sleep for 8 hours, they wake up and the job's done, which means that now instead of you only having 8 hours of work, you're still working 8 hours, but your agents can work 24 hours. And it's the same thing for automations where I have some automations running, but I'm not babysitting them. They're just going off and doing their own thing. So we're very much trying to encourage people to think about how do you get more leverage out of the existing hours? So not working more, we don't want people to work more hours, but we want to encourage people to think about what are the repetitive tasks that you're doing every day and how can you set up an automation that takes care of the tedious work so that you can do more of the fun stuff.
So basically everyone in your company, the basic rule is that let agents do everything for you.
We do encourage people to frequently think about how they can leverage Claude to automate parts of their job. But we also think it's important to do this very carefully. So a lot of times when you first start a new automation, Claude doesn't succeed all the time. So it might fail 30% of the time, and you have to look at the errors and fix the prompt or fix the harness to close that gap. And only when it gets to 100% do you actually let it run by itself. So I think the mindset is use Claude to automate parts of your job, but you have to do this in a very responsible and safe way where you as the human are still responsible for the change and should audit the results and do audit the results until you have very high trust.
I think that's what's unique about Anthropic. So the company is moving incredibly fast in AI development, but at the same time, the company is very public. about what needs to happen to keep powerful models safe. So what do you think is the underlying philosophy behind moving fast and being cautious at the same time?
Yeah, safety is at the core of what we do. This is like the most important thing for our company, and it is one of the leading drivers of all the decisions we make. So for example, with the Glasswing program, we wanted to help people who were responsible for critical infrastructure, and we didn't feel like it was responsible to release it broadly. And even with Fable 5, we have very strict cyber and bioharm classifiers to make sure that people get value out of the model just outside of the domain of cyber and bio, unless you're in the Mythos program. And I think a lot of these efforts exemplify how we value safety above everything else. We believe that we need to be good stewards to the world to make sure that this like powerful tool can help humanity without hurting our critical systems or like causing harm to humans.
So how does those philosophies work when you work on your own product, like Claude Code or Claude Cowork?
So for our products, we do pretty strict safety and security reviews for everything that we ship. And a lot of times this actually means holding back a product because we don't feel like it meets the security bar. I can give you one example for auto mode. So auto mode is something that we shipped a few months ago. It lets you, we noticed that for a lot of users, they were getting so many permission prompts that they weren't reading them carefully anymore. They were just saying yes, 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 yes. And we see in our data, like people, the yes rate was about, I think, 97%. And for a lot of people, they would hit yes within like milliseconds of the prompt showing up, which is just not enough time to read it. And so then we thought, okay, how do we make this more safe? Because people are experiencing this prompt fatigue. And so what we did was we realized that Claude actually has pretty good judgment in deciding whether or not a permission prompt is safe. And so we kicked off this effort where we started delegating permissions to Claude internally, and we logged all the cases where Claude said yes and all the cases it said no. And we tuned the classifier until we felt like, okay, this is better than a human, like better than a human would do. And then we got a red team. So we hired an external firm to try to attack the model, like create adversarial environments that would trick the model. And then we made the classifiers robust to this. And then only at that point did we ship it externally to the world. And so this is an example where the original idea we had in like December of last year, and it was like reasonably good, but we wanted to take these extra few months to make sure that we felt confident that it was more safe than a human reviewer before we shared it with the world.
Okay, great. I want to ask you about token cost too. Everyone's talking about it right now. And as Claude becomes more capable, the models become more capable, people naturally want to delegate more work to the agents. Well, which means that more token usage or higher compute costs. So how should users and companies think about it? And how are you or Anthropic working on this issue?
Yeah, I think it's important for us to use these tokens responsibly. The way that we do it within Anthropic is we make sure that every user understands where their token usage is going. And so for us, it's not about telling people that they're using too much or too little. It's about giving people visibility so that they can audit their own transcripts and say, oh, okay, I didn't realize this session used so much. I probably shouldn't have done this. Or like, oh, this session actually was a great use of the tokens. So giving people that level of visibility we think is quite important. The other barometer that we advise people to use is, you should use Claude in situations where you feel that this task is something that you would have otherwise wanted a human to do. And so for example, one thing that we sometimes see is people will have a ton of ideas and kick off a bunch of prototypes. And I think that's amazing for the exploration part of the job. But then some people maybe go a little further than that. And then they're like, oh, wow, I can make 10. Why don't I make 100 prototypes? And I think there's just, on an individual level, I think there is a responsibility to know, okay, let me think about which 10 prototypes I really want, like what are the 10 theses I really want to test, and kick those off instead of like making 1,000 just because you're able to. So I think it's both visibility and then like individual users having the level of responsibility and judgment to know, okay, this is a valuable task versus, oh, I'm probably not going to use 1,000 prototypes, so let's not do the other 990.
Do you think the product itself, like Claude Code, is going to implement like a automatic model routing thing to the product in the future?
It's a really interesting direction, and we are exploring it. It is a bit tricky to do because the ways that people share tasks with us are highly variable. Because, for example, if you share the full task in the first message, it's a bit easier for us to send this to a classifier. But a lot of people actually just like chat with Claude as it's working, which means that it is a little harder to know exactly when we should like decide to switch models. I think it is a really interesting open problem, and it is worth exploring further.
Token pricing of the Fable 5 is it ended up not being as expensive as the Mythos preview as it's announced. So does the company care a lot about pricing too?
So we take our pricing decisions very carefully. We really want to make this model something that people feel like they can use for their day-to-day tasks. And so we're hoping that at this price point, people feel like they can use it for their most critical work and that it will be more broadly usable than a much higher price.
Okay. And you said the Claude coding capabilities make all the development process really faster. And so why do you think it's happening, and what part of Claude is the advantage on that front?
I think there's two things that are very special about Claude. One is it has very high EQ. So if you give it like an underspecified statement about what you want, a lot of times it's able to search additional context and deduce what you really mean. Of course, I always encourage people to state your constraints up front because the model can't read your mind. But in situations where you are vague, it is a lot better at being able to deduce what you mean. And it also knows when to ask you questions. So sometimes it'll just choose to ask you a question, and we find that users really like that the model knows when to drive and when to pause and check. The other thing is we've trained Claude to be good at utilizing the entirety of its 1 million context window. And we've trained it to be quite strong at complex tasks, like backend engineering, performance optimizations, really tricky systems level work. And I think this is like coming through in the models in people's experiences today, where you can use Claude Code in very complex legacy code bases, large production scale code bases, and find that it's able to navigate it quite expertly.
Okay. And some people on X, I was seeing some people on X talking about the performance of the Opus 4.7 and Opus 4.8, and that's not really working as well as they expected, and then they're going back to 4.6, or now they have their Fable 5, so they're figuring out how to use that. But how are you responding to the model performance?
Yeah, every model's a bit different, and we try to make sure that every model doesn't have any regressions from the previous ones. But there are always situations where the real world is always a lot more complex than the evaluations that we have internally and even our internal usage at the company. And so sometimes there's edge cases that we didn't expect. But in those situations, we really, really appreciate users' feedback so that we can immediately create evals that capture it and then update the harness to compensate. So we believe we've mitigated the issues that people have reported in 4.7 and 4.8. And we always endeavor to make sure that these are drop-in replacements and that there aren't issues. And if there are, that we fix them very quickly. I think of Fable 5 as this is my go-to if I'm working in our production code base. So I still use Opus 4.8 for when I'm making prototypes and like new greenfield projects. But anything where I want to make a thorough, complex code change, I generally prefer Fable 5 to do it. I think it's actually strictly better. We haven't seen as many of the rough edges that people have reported for other models.
Time is running out, but I have two last quick questions about how everyone works at Anthropic as AI native company. So that's a part of what you talked about earlier. But what does working at Anthropic look like with those Claude working everywhere, every time? How does it feel?
So I think we've oriented a lot of our business processes around Claude. Claude is pretty much at the center of our day-to-day work. So actually on Claude Code, we have very few meetings, and almost everything that we coordinate is async in Slack channels, and we have Claude sitting alongside us, helping us triage issues, get to root causes. It's almost like everyone had a little helper on their shoulder that was just looking out for all the edge cases, all the bugs related to their features. And we also see that all of our cross-functional partners leverage Claude. Like our docs writer, Sarah, she has a Claude that listens for all PRs that go into Claude Code, and then she makes a corresponding docs change. And then her Claude actually waits for the CLI to be published before the docs change goes live. And she doesn't do this. She just wrote an automation with Claude that does this for her. Our legal team does reviews on our product briefs with Claude. So there's a certain set of things that they're very careful about how we communicate. And so they have something that just scans our docs and flags the issues that they want to be looped in on. And same for comms and safeguards and so many other teams that we work with.
So does everyone use Claude Code, not just Cowork?
People use a mix. So in general, people use Claude Code for coding tasks, and people use Cowork for tasks where the final output isn't code.
But they use Claude Code no matter what position they're in, what role they're in, like even if they're knowledge workers.
We find that for people who are producing code outputs, so definitely engineers, some product managers, designers, and actually some data science folks, they really like to use Claude Code. We find that for most other folks on our team, they prefer Cowork. So marketing, legal, sales, they tend to live more in the Cowork product.
So with the model's progress and advancement, it's going to get easier for everyone to code with Claude Code, right?
Yes, it is. It is already quite easy to code. I think there's a lot of roles where there's a lot of roles where coding isn't that much in their set of expectations. Like for example, if you're a lawyer on the team, it's not obvious that you want to build a prototype, but sometimes, like one of the lawyers on our team loves building apps for himself, and we have a big legal team now, and he actually made this app where you can ask it a question of, hey, I have this legal question about this product, and his app will tell you which person on the product counsel team covers that area, so it directs you to the right lawyer. So we have seen cases where people who traditionally wouldn't ever make apps are now making apps that augment their job.
So last question. If literally everyone can code with Claude Code, or other models. What does the future look like, and how are you seeing that from your perspective?
I think the hardest thing is building this business and product taste. So understanding what should we build, why, for whom, how do we price it, how do we roll it out? And I actually think this level of judgment can come from anywhere. So like PMs can have this, a lot of engineers can have this, and like really anyone, I think, with enough curiosity can step up and fill this role. And I can definitely imagine a future where it's no longer just engineers coding, and it's no longer engineers and product managers and designers coding, but like maybe our legal team wants to add some like legal specific rich UI into Cowork, and then they actually just tell Claude to do it, and they show it internally, we test it out internally, and we ship it. Like I think this isn't happening right now, but I could definitely see this happening later this year.
Okay, just this year. So
Hopefully.
it's
Well,
not
our
happening.
legal team is already making plugins for Cowork, so that's the first step. And then soon, I hope we'll be able to make the UI more custom for specific roles. And then, yeah, I could definitely see other roles contributing directly.
Okay, I'm excited to see what's happening next year.
Me too.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Not really.
Thank you very much. Very nice meeting you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Great
thank
to
you.
meet you.
Yeah.
And actually, I think the limitation is not everyone is thinking about, oh, what are the tasks that take a day that I can hand
I know.
off to it.
And I think it's important to try asking like everything to Claude.
Yeah.
And that tells me that, I can do this in Claude, but I didn't think about it and so
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Oh, I should have said this, but I often tell people like if Claude isn't failing, then you're not asking it hard enough things. Like you should just keep asking it things until it's struggling, and that's how you figure out what it's able to do.
like there's nothing you can't ask them.
Yeah. We have this. Sometimes we have this thing where people will just go their whole day only asking Claude to do things. So they won't post on Slack. They won't open a code editor. They won't do anything except prompt Claude to do everything they need to do in their day. And people can get through their whole day like this. And it's also this illuminating experience where you realize, like, where you really get pushed out of your comfort zone. I think sometimes it does mean that a task gets done slower than you normally would have done it, but it teaches you all the ways that you could automate as well. Because even if you respond to emails fast for that specific email, if you walk Claude through responding to your emails 100 times, then you can like tell Claude to reflect over that, build an automation that responds to it, and hopefully one day it can respond for you.
That's great.
It's not there yet, but
You have 8 hours of sleep every day?
I do actually.
Even when you're busy?
Yes. It's very important.
I can imagine that everyone's really busy, like with so much launches and everything. But when you told me that you can let agents or automation do everything while you're sleeping, so.
I actually sleep 8 hours every day because I feel like we have to make a lot of tricky decisions every day. And if I'm not well rested, I feel like I just can't think well. And I feel like the important thing that humans still do is like this level of critical thinking. And so I feel like I wouldn't be doing my job well if I showed up and I was not like, if I was foggy.
Right.
But I hope your listeners are also sleeping 8 hours.
Right. Yeah.
Because sometimes I notice that people get really obsessed with Claude and they
I know.
don't want to sleep. But I think it's very important to like notice when this is happening and just what's the laptop?
Right. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you too.
Yeah. Have a great time in Japan. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Bye.